Welcome to Lesson 4 and the final lesson of Section 2 of the BJCP Tasting Exam Preparation course by the Brewers Anonymous Homebrew Club. This lesson is double-checking your score and double-checking your score. That is written like that on purpose. It's a little tongue-in-cheek, but there's a couple things to just get in your head so you don't make these mistakes and ruin what is almost a complete score sheet because of these couple things. So let's get started. This episode in the series is not affiliated with, nor endorsed or checked by the BJCP, the AHA, or any other organizations discussed in any episode of this series. Okay, double checking your score and double checking your score. What am I talking about? Well, this is what we are going to cover. We're just going to talk about checking your math, and then we're going to talk about the scoring guide field. That's a field, the last field that I hinted at last lesson that we have not talked about in the score sheet, and it'll be the final look specifically at the score sheet. We'll have score sheets pretty much for the rest of our lives in this course because that's what the exam's all about. But as far as breaking them down and looking at them, this is it. I sort of promise. I don't know. I haven't recorded the other lessons yet. So let's start with checking your math. This is exactly how it sounds. Check your math. Do your scores for aroma, appearance, flavor, mouthfeel, and overall impression add up correctly to the total score that you wrote on the score sheet? In this case, no, it does not. So what do? Pretty easy. Erase it and put in the correct number. Simple. This may seem like a duh thing to talk about, but you might be surprised what little, like the details that may escape you in an exam situation like this, especially if you're well into adulthood and taking tests has not been a regular part of your life for years, if not decades. Little things like this, and if you miss them, they add up to losing those completeness points. So I point these out. I point them out, try it at least in a fun, lighthearted way, but now you have that in your head to check it and be sure that you don't make that mistake is really what it comes down to. And now for that second double checking your score, there's one field that we haven't talked about on the sheet, and it's right down here, lower left-hand corner. This is the scoring guide section. Once you have your final score for the beer that you're judging, take a quick look at this field. You want to make sure that your score, and more importantly, the description that you gave matches the point range that you gave it. Like for example, a score sheet that we just looked at in a couple slides ago is a score of 36. Now let's say I mentioned a flaw that couldn't be ignored and some serious style issues, like it was too hoppy for declared style or not enough malt character. 36, according to this guide, says this is a very good beer. And with that very good, the description is generally within style parameters, some minor flaws. Now, what I just described says something else. It says this is probably closer to a good beer. Fair might be a little too harsh compared to the descriptors I just gave, but I'm really talking more about a good beer than a very good beer. So I may want to go back and reassess my score as quickly as I can and make sure it falls in the good range because that's what my descriptions are. Now, conversely, that can work the opposite way as well. Let's say I barely have anything to say for an improvement other than some really small tweaking, and my score is still 36, and excellent says that this beer exemplifies style well, requires minor fine-tuning. Well, if that describes what my evaluation wording was, I may want to give it another point or two to make sure I get it up into that 38 to 44 range. Now, with all that said, don't spend a terrible amount of time on this. This is one of those things where you could really go down a rabbit hole and get in your own head. Just look at it. If it's glaringly wrong, that's when you want to address it. If you're like, if you're not sure, or if it's even like a 2-point difference between the levels you're talking about, like let's say you scored it a 28, but it might be a very good, but you're not entirely sure, maybe move on. And if you have time, revisit it, but move on. It's a 2-point difference. You're probably in the right range, maybe. Again, no promises, but this is here to help you, not instruct you. So don't spend too much time thinking about this. Just use it as a double checking method. Now, one thing I've seen back when these paper score sheets were used for all competitions is that judges would circle that range that the score falls into. Now, when it comes to your exam, I haven't seen anything that says this counts as completeness. But conversely, I haven't seen anything that says it's going to hurt your score. Here's the one piece of information I can give you that I do know for sure because it's from my exam results that you can use and run with to decide whether you want to circle this or not. I circled all mine. And my completeness scores, 5 were in the master range, 1 was in the national. They were the highest overall scores I've gotten on all 5 of this section. So it didn't seem to hurt my completeness score for what that's worth. So it's up to you whether to do this or not. I can't see why it would hurt you unless you circle the wrong range, which I guess is a possibility. But again, that all I know is what I've experienced, and I just shared that with you so you can make your decision on that. And on that note, that does it for lesson 4. And that also does it for section 2. So we're going to move on to lesson 3. And now we're going to start looking into how we're going to prepare for the exam in terms of knowing our beer styles, writing our evaluations, and practice, practice, practice. We are now moving from the mantra of complete your score sheets to practice, practice, practice. In fact, those two are probably going to overlap. Practice, practice, practice by completing your full score sheet. More on that in section 3. I'll see you over there in that first lesson.